the attendees. We actually have a pretty good crowd tonight. Seeing 134 attendees. So that's great to hear. It's good. It at least confirms that everybody got my message that I sent out last week with the link. So welcome everybody. I appreciate you holding on as we, we're starting about 3 minutes late, but I hope you can forgive that. Welcome to Freshman Parent Night. This year is quite unique for our Freshman Parent Night, as it is the entrance into our brand new Freshman Academy Without Walls. And in addition, we have restructured our department a little bit to present two specific dedicated ninth grade counselors. We have Miss Yolande Fleming and Miss Kelly Murphy with us, who will be taking on the majority of the presentation. We also have our representative from the CHS SF, Miss Madeline Tuggeman, and our head of the Freshman Academy Without Walls and one of our school assistant principals, Miss Tracy Morrison. So, if we're all ready to go, we can get started. I'm going to share my screen. Madeline, would you like to go first before we move forward?
Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. Freshmen, very exciting time for your student and for you. I'm Madeline Tuggeman. I'm the president of the Columbia High School Scholarship Fund. 2023 marks our 100th year of service to Columbia High School. We provide need-based scholarships to the students at the high school that can be used for any 2- or 4-year college, trade, technical school, or certificate program. The student can reapply every year. And last year, we awarded $258,000 to 115 students. We are very excited to be having our 100th anniversary cocktail reception this Saturday at the Maplewood Tennis Club. We hope if you have nothing to do on Saturday night, you'll stop by. It starts at 7 and tickets are $100, and it goes toward creating scholarships for the 24-25 school year. Wow, I can't believe that. Anyway, have a great freshman year to you and your student. Stay well.
Thank you very much, Madeline. We appreciate you being here and sharing the message and all that CHS SF does for our students. So now I would like to pass this off to Miss Morrison, our head of the Freshman Academy Without Walls. Take it away, Miss Morrison.
Good evening, class of 2027, to our parents, our caregivers, families, and our community members. We thank you for partnering with us and for joining us on this evening. We apologize for the delay. Some of us had some technical difficulties, and our principal, Sanchez, will be with us as soon as he's able to log in. Oh, actually, he's here. I see him in the list. We began our class of 2027 open house with the statement, "Every student is welcome and everyone belongs." Next slide. Everyone is welcome here and everyone belongs. And so at our open house, we welcomed over 315 of our freshmen, and this is how we started. Our foundation as we move through our year together is the idea that we are a community. And as a part of our community, we operate from a space of agreements. Next slide. Yep. And so what are agreements? They are a consensus on what every person in our community will need from one another. This is the commitment that we make to ensure that our students, our staff feel safe and supported as we move through the next 4 years together. Our goal is to do our best work and to achieve success. And so the specific agreements that we asked of our students, both at open house as well as during orientation, and when we gather together in our huddle, are as follows. We create a safe space, being mutually supportive and valuing each other's unique qualities. We give undivided attention to the person who has the floor. And so often they will hear me ask the question, who has the floor? And it could be myself, it can be Ms. Fleming, Ms. McDonald, it can be Mr. Vecchione, Mr. Sanchez. And so whomever has the floor is where our attention belongs. And so we ask of our students, it is a board policy, but we also placed it in our agreements that cell phones are silenced and they're put away so that we actually can give undivided attention to the person who has the floor. That we respect one another and we also respect personal space. That we speak our truth using I statements. And so we talked about how using the word you can be accusatory, but we're going to make sure that we're self-aware. And in doing so, we use I statements. I feel, I understand, I believe, etc. And this was a big one, and one that I am hearing from our students as well as our teachers, that they're learning to step up and step back. And so by stepping up, students who are typically quiet within classes and kind of may feel a little shy, I'm not sure I want to say what's on my mind, those students, we invite them to step up and take space and make their voice heard. And for our students who often are always answering the questions, always know what to say, we ask them to be self-aware as well and think about how frequently, how long, and how quickly they participate and give space for someone else to be able to share. And then we invite teachers and students to add other agreements. And so we thank our students because each time we gather together in our huddles, we use our community agreements. They are posted in our office. And I have to tell you that in the cafeteria, in the hallway, we're seeing our students, respecting each other. And when they're not, checking one another for not doing so. So we're off to a great start. And we're off to a great start because I work with a super amazing team. So first and foremost, let me say thank you to the Board of Education, all of our board members, to our school leadership team, as well as our CHS team, so our building administrators who I share this great space of administration with, our principal Sanchez, who will greet you shortly, as well as our department supervisors, and the amazing women that you're about to meet in the next few minutes, Miss Yolande Fleming and Miss Kelly Murphy, who do this work alongside of me as we build together our Freshman Academy Without Walls. I also want to share that another person who is an amazing part of this team, my left, my right hand, probably my left and right foot as well, is Miss Aaliyah Lindsay, who is the secretary for the Freshman Academy. And so I'm grateful for the team that we have working together as we build the Freshman Academy Without Walls. Thank you. I hope that you are receiving our emails. I know that I got a couple of emails from some parents saying, hey, I'm missing it. And I hope that we have fixed that glitch. But I do thank you for taking time to read the emails and for partnering with us and sharing in this space as we move together our class of 2027 on the road of graduation. Thank you so much for your time. And we thank you for sharing your students with us. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sanchez so that he can say hi, and then he will say, send it over to Ms. Fleming and Ms. McDonald.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Morrison. That was great, and I really do appreciate this change. I know for some of you who have your oldest child is in ninth grade, you might not know some of the changes, but we are making some changes with our vice principals to be focusing on certain responsibilities rather than grade levels. Ms. Morrison is kind of in the between here, and she's focusing on a grade level. She did that in her years of experience, over a decade of experience at Montclair. And so when Dr. Gilbert and I were talking about, Dr. Gilbert, of course, in central office is our assistant superintendent of access and equity. And as we were talking about improving Columbia High School, we both said that some of the issues we have at Columbia sometimes happen only, or they happen at the middle school. and then we see them at ninth grade. And what we wanted to do was to have some interventions in the ninth grade, and that's why we are making some changes, and we've invited Miss Morrison to really supervise and focus on that. So we're very fortunate to have someone with such experience as Miss Morrison. But this is an evening to talk with our two great counselors that work with us and Mr. Vecchione, our supervisor of counseling. I just want to say that I've been here now for several years at Columbia High School, and I consider myself fortunate to be the principal because it's one of the best high schools in New Jersey and therefore one of the best high schools in the nation. We are every year improving, and the Freshman Academy Without Walls this year is just one great example of that, where we're doing some academic interventions and some curricular interventions with social and emotional learning and some really important things for students. So really, of all the Columbia High School students, it's the freshmen that on Friday will be the first to get on tutor.com. Right. So if you have older children, sophomore, junior, senior year, they're not really getting into until for a couple of weeks. But our freshmen will be focusing on that with Miss Morrison and her team Friday. And we're going to continue doing those kind of work. Someone already had a question about, what type of curriculum we're doing. We'll be focusing on that in the weeks to come. We just got our teachers signed on. This is a contract year, as you can imagine. And so we're very fortunate to have our SEMEA or our teacher members ready to join us on this. And they'll be coming on board. Sorry, it's just my phone call. Next week with us, but they'll be meeting with some of our students actually on Friday. So I just want to say, I hope these last few weeks have been exciting for your children as they come into a big high school. I mean, we are a pretty sizable school. We have 2,000 students, but it is our goal to make it small and to have Miss Morrison leading basically a school of 500 with her two counselors and all our social workers and our support team. That is our goal, to make this transition from middle school to high school better. So there's no reason to listen to me. I'm going to introduce Mr. Vecchione and our two great counselors who will be the stars of this evening and talking to you about what it's like to be a freshman. So Ms. Fleming, Ms. Murphy, and of course, Mr. Vecchione, please take over. And Ms. Morrison and I are just here to help and support.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. I think Mr. Vecchione already welcomed everybody tonight. So hi, everyone. I am Mrs. Fleming, one of the two school counselors on board with this new adventure that we're going on with Freshman Academy Without Walls. And I'm really excited to do so. I'm a community member. I'm an alum. There's so many reasons why it's exciting for me to see that, these types of initiatives are happening, and sometimes we do need change. We need to go back to the books and try again with things, and I'm excited to be part of this team to get this year. Okay, so what do we do as counselors? And that's so funny because I did actually get an email about that, like, what do counselors do? So basically, we are, as you can see the slide that's showing right now, we help deliver our core curriculum with guidance lessons, events. We can do individual student planning, which is going to include the academic advising, college and career, and of course, graduation progress monitoring. During one of our huddles last week, I walked around and asked the kids, how many credits do you have? How many credits do you have? So that's a really important thing for them to start thinking about high school as being, the place where the credits are going to count towards something. Like, we're building towards something 2027. And we want to see that every year we're getting those 30 to 35 credits so we can get to that goal of 120 by 2027. We also help with any responsive services, like any crisis response, if there's any need for small group counseling or even individual counseling, we can make arrangements to do that with our students. And then, of course, the indirect services, where if there are things that we ourselves cannot handle, we use our support systems in place. So we can refer, we can consult, and of course collaborate with the great faculty and staff that we have at Columbia High School. And yeah, our number one, it's all in caps at the bottom of that slide, is that we are the advocate for the students. I like to say that like we're their agents, basically. So, they're our clients, and we're going to do everything we can to make them happy. All right, next slide. All right, so how do we do that? Here are the types of supports that we have in place at the high school level, and it is slightly different from middle school. We have many more because it's 4 years. It's a long time, and there's a lot of development that goes on. So of course, first and foremost are you all, the parents, caretakers, family members, or trusted adults. Like those, you are their first go-to people. Next, we want the kids to also reach out to their teachers, their classroom teachers. This conference period right now, the 2 days that are mandatory, yes, we're huddling together, but those other 3 days, we want them to get to know their teachers that they're working with. So we hope that they're coming in, or they will be coming in more as the year progresses, to visit with their teachers, talk to their teachers, get ideas, strategies, just connect with their teachers in some way. The third tier would be us, the school counselor. We are going to be the person that's going to lead them to, if we're not the person that can answer their question, we're going to help them find the people that can. All right. And we also have student assistance counselors, which is different than the middle school. I don't think they have SACs at the middle school. I'm pretty sure they don't. So at the high school level, we have additional counselors that help more critically with the social emotional piece of their day. So the student assistance counselor is just another great support system that we add on to their high school years. And we also have a great social worker, Miss Easton, who helps as well, and she has amazing interns, and we definitely will utilize them as well to help. Moving up the ladder, as you can see, there's the nurse, we have the loft, we have ESS, perform care, and then that period 1 conference. That's going to be really crucial to get kids in the habit of using that 7:55 to 8:40 time to go and check out, ask questions with your teachers, come see us, the counselors, if there's anything, with their schedule that's not quite right, or if they'll need help with any, advice as far as tutoring or anything. Those are the days we want them to come in. And then lastly, their support would be our administration. So if you look at that slide, like that's how we want the system to go, the types of support to go. And of course, I like that we're kind of like right there in the middle. So we're that person that can help, bridge all of these systems together. Okay, next slide. The academic and social emotional resources, again, number 1 is going to be us, myself and Miss Murphy. Okay, and we also, in addition to the counseling suite that's located on the first floor by the main office, we have the annex, which is located in the library upstairs. And that is a place where students will be able to use their lunch periods, maybe to get some help with tutoring. So the annex is another place, a location for them to feel comfortable about getting help. All right. Again, can't say it enough. That conference period, I know some kids early mornings aren't their thing. I was one of those kids. But hopefully, we'll get those habits going as we move along this year. For our grade level, we have Mrs. Martinez as our student assistance counselor. So she is going to be working with us, all of our freshmen as well, to help them with the any social emotional pieces that we would like to, dig deeper into. Miss Martinez is going to be our person to help us, along with the loft. If there are families out there that attended Maplewood Middle, you all had something called the Hub, I think it was called. I don't think Psalms had a program, but here at the high school, we have something called the Loft. They are going to help students with several different aspects, jobs hunting. They have wonderful social activities throughout the year. It's just, just more locations. We're a big building, so sometimes, it can be a bit overwhelming, but if kids kind of find their niche, like where they like to be, if they're not in their classrooms, if they're not in conference periods, these are some of the places we want them to feel comfortable going to. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn it over now to Miss Murphy.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Murphy. As I've been telling all of your students, I am a freshman at Columbia this year too, but I'm so happy to be on board. I was here last year as an intern, so it already has a place in my heart, and I'm happy to be continuing with your students this year. Last year as an intern, I had a lot of experience upstairs in the annex, so I just wanted to speak a little bit more about the programs they offer up there. So once again, it's located in our library, which is on the second floor. And it's another place that provides both academic and social emotional support. Lunch and Learn is an amazing program that I was part of developing last year, where we work on executive functioning skills with your students. So if they're starting to fall behind in their classes and they need help organizing their planners, organizing their Canvas to-do lists, if they need help getting motivated to do their work for a class that they're not super into, this is a place where they work with our interns and they work in a group setting, so other students support them in their endeavors to succeed. These are happening on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and run by our school counseling interns in coordination with our National Honor Society. Then we also have Wellness Wednesdays, which are various wellness activities that happen on Wednesdays coordinated by the interns. It might be meditation time, some coloring book time, different things to help your student find a place to chill out in the middle of their week. We have the Slam Lab, which is tutoring offered by our teachers during lunch periods. And this happens for English, math, and science classes. So we have teachers who are in for all of the lunch periods, ready to help your student, even if they're not their direct teacher, they're there willing to support. And then we have Achieve Tutoring, which is a great program where students will be tutoring other students. And this happens during that conference period, during lunches, anytime during school hours, but sometimes even nights and weekends if that's what your student needs. All right, next slide, please. So we wanted to share a little bit more about the library with you while we're talking about upstairs. So we have a great library faculty. We have Miss Ung and Mr. Cosgrave, and these are your go-to people if your child needs academic resources and specifically help with their technology this year. So the next slide will have some more information about that. So right there are library hours. Our library is very available to our students. As you can see, we have long hours most days, Tuesdays being the only exception. But we ask just to kind of keep order in the library and keep it a quiet, calm place for our students. We have students sign up to visit the library just so there's not too many, it doesn't become too loud. But of course, students who need to print something or need to quickly drop off a book, reset their PowerSchool accounts, things like that, can drop in. They just need a pass from their teachers or counselors. Many of them have visited us already with these concerns. But if they are reserving a spot, they can do so up to 3 days in advance. So that right there is the QR code, but it's available in many places in our building as well. And then next slide. The library has plenty of resources. A resource that's available this year is Mac and Via, which is an online digital resource to help your students access ebooks, e-audiobooks, and things like that. But we have plenty of resources. If your child is more of a paper resource kind of kid, we have plenty of books in the library, plenty of those things still available as well. But our library faculty is very willing to help your student get set up with Mac and Via if that's something that they're interested in. Next slide. So this is going to be a big one for students who need help with their school emails or getting their Canvas reset. We asked them to visit the library and talk to Ms. Ung or Mr. Cosgrave. They will be your go-to people if you're ever having an issue with their student Gmail or having an issue with their Canvas page. You want to send them there or have them email the library email that was included before, CHS, lib at SOMSD, and the rest. But they're a great resource if your child is struggling with that. And currently, since it's the start of the year, they've also been assisting with PowerSchool resets up there. Next slide, please. So like I just mentioned, to assist your students with their PowerSchool resets, they can also visit the library or shoot an email to the email address. But the library staff wants us to let you know as parents, if you need help, your go-to resource should be the parent portal help email that's located on the slide there. So if your students are having issues, you send them to the library. If you're having issues, you're going to want to write down that parent portal help email. And then next slide, please. And like I mentioned before, we have plenty of access to ebooks this year through Mac and Via. That's something that can be set up quite easily to be coordinated with your students' Canvas. So once again, if they just go visit our lovely library faculty, they'll set them up with that and they'll be ready to go with any ebook, e-audiobook resources that they need this year. Next slide, please. We have a great resource as the counseling department, which is our counseling website. Ms. Johnson does a great job keeping it updated, so it always has the most up-to-date information that you need to help support your student. We've been talking to your students in Freshman Academy, particularly about the schedule change request form, and that's located on our counseling website. So if your student has any discrepancies with their schedule, they fill out the Google form request, and we address them in order just to give fair assistance to all of our students. But we also have all of our electives up there if they need to look at which electives they want to choose. We have all of our information up there if you need our phone extensions, if you need our emails. And also we've spoken to your students about Remind. They can sign up for Remind links, which we'll have the information up for that on the website as well. Next slide, please. So this is kind of the all-encompassing CHS survival kit. These are the things that you want your student to know about and we want you to know about so they can succeed this year. Canvas is where your student will see their assignments for class, they'll see their class syllabi, their teacher will post relevant announcements to their Canvas pages. So once again, if your student doesn't have access to this yet, you might want to check in with them and make sure they visit the library right away if they don't have access or if they've lost their password, all of those things. PowerSchool, quite similarly, this is where you're going to see your students' grades throughout the year. This is where you can access their schedules as well. So again, if you're having any issues on your end or the student's end accessing PowerSchool, you're going to want to make sure that you get in as soon as possible and reach out to our library staff if you are finding issues with that. Our counseling website is a good thing to bookmark. It's going to have a lot of relevant information regarding scheduling, regarding programming that we're doing, anything like that. So you're just going to want to make sure you're checking in on that every once in a while to see what we're doing in the counseling department. SCORE is something that's going to be bigger as your child moves through Columbia, but it's never something that they can start too soon. We'll probably talk more about it in Freshman Academy, but this is a great resource as they start building themselves up towards the college process. Then we have Remind, which I had mentioned before. This is a great resource we have where we can send out text reminders to your student because we know that some of them struggle with checking their email, and we want to make sure we can get the information to them however they will receive it. So this is something you might also want to check in with your student to make sure they've signed up for our particular Remind notifications. And the codes for this are on our website. They're also kind of in our email handles. You can find that there. And we've been sharing that with them through Freshman Academy, so they should be on board. But nevertheless, a good idea to check in with them. And then student and parent emails on both ends. We just want to make sure you're checking your email because that's another great resource for us to get in contact with you as well. All right, next slide.
Great. Yep. Thanks, Ms. Murphy. Okay, so planning ahead. Here are the CHS graduation requirements. All students that walk across that stage in their 4 years have to meet these specific requirements. So all 4 years, they will have to take an English language arts class as well as physical education, health, and driver's ed. You should see the looks on some of their faces when I say, like, yeah, you need that for graduation. PE and health definitely count. Math, science, and social studies only require 3 years. But of course, as the students move forward and they are, pursuing, looking into which types of colleges they want to go to, many colleges are going to, depending on what they want to do in the future, they might want to see 4 years in those particular courses or topics or areas. So 3 years is the minimum, but can they do 4? Yes, 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 yes. For the graduation requirements for the world language, that's only 1 year. Again, if they are thinking about college after 2027, we're going to give them the recommendation to do 2 to 3 years in one specific language. That's highly recommended for many of our students. For their fine arts and 21st century life and career classes, they only need 1 year to fulfill those graduation requirements. And then everyone has to have that half a year of a financial literacy course. So doing all the math, all of those 4 years, if they average about 30 credits a year, and we hope they do, many of our kids exceed that number. By the time they're juniors, actually, some of them do that. But the minimum requirement is 120. That's our goal for them. And that's the New Jersey state requirement goal. All right, next slide. So here's how they know they're going to progress in high school. So what has to happen is for them to be considered an official 10th grader, they would have had to earn a minimum of 30 credits. To be considered an official junior or 11th grader, they will have to have earned 60 credits. And then, of course, the big one, to be considered a senior at Columbia High School, they would have had to earn 90 credits. So this is something that's really like a jump for, especially for a lot of the kids that, don't have older siblings or cousins or know anything about credits. They get very surprised about like, oh, okay, so, how, What do you mean I have to, you know, I'm not a sophomore, I'm not a senior. The number of credits is what we're trying to, you know, remind them about each and every time we can, that going to class, getting those credits, attendance is going to help them earn these credits to get to progress through each of the 4 years that they're here. And the minimum requirement is 30. All right, the GPA scale. This is something that, you know, really, basically, what we like to explain to the students is that we want them to take courses that are going to, they're going to be challenged. There's going to be rigor, okay? And what are the benefits of taking courses like that? It's going to help with their GPA, all right? So if you can see, if you're looking at the chart with me right now, you'll see that a grade of an A+ in an unweighted course is going to be at a rate of 4.33. In the academic, if you look across the chart, you'll see as the courses get harder, academic to honors to AP, the weight is higher. So if there are students that are just a little hesitant to you know, try some of the more challenging classes, this is something we talk about with them during their well, really, I mean, we talk about it as freshmen, as early as freshmen, but it really doesn't sink in until they're, you know, they get that GPA is going to be something that colleges are going to look at. And they're going to want to, you know, well, how is it that I can raise my GPA? Well, taking the honors classes or the AP courses are going to help you do that. So this is the chart we use to help explain that to all of the students. Okay. All right, so GPA is updated at the end of the school year, so it's not going to be updated after each quarter or semester. We wait until the final grades have been posted, and that's when you will see the child's cumulative GPA. So that at the end of every school year is when they'll be able to see their GPA. And it will be listed on their transcripts as weighted and unweighted. And then, yeah, of course, we let all of our students know that you are way more than just your GPA. Our Columbia High School is known for so many things. You know, do you know that we're the oldest high school in New Jersey? We are. And as a member of the Hall of Fame committee, we definitely have stars that have walked through these walls, walked through the you know, the building and everything. So we're definitely more than just great, having good grades. So just have to make that plug. All right, planning ahead, decisions. So our course selection timeline and process, as Ms. Murphy mentioned, we reminded the kids about our counseling website. We do have several windows throughout the year where kids can make changes to their schedule, but they're specific windows. So when the deadline comes up, we're going to use our tools like Remind to remind them, like, okay, you know, it's the weekend, make sure, you know, by the 24th, if you had any, if you wanted to change anything, you should have done it by September 24th. And then we have a chart in our, I think it's in the handbook, and we also will post it on our website for the additional times throughout the year where students can make level changes, or any, yeah, basically level changes to their schedule. There's math advancement courses that kids can take in the summer if there are kids that are, you know, want to get to calculus by junior or senior year. There are ways to do that. Some of our courses require prerequisites. I'm going to give an example for the photography. Like, you can't take digital photography until you've taken traditional photography. So and then there are some business classes that we offer. If you didn't take the personal finance class, you might not be able to take like intro to accounting or marketing. We also have a VOTEC option for some of our students, for students that are interested in that. Usually that will happen during their junior and senior years, but there are some VOTEC programs that start as early as sophomore year. So if they are interested in some type of trade, or maybe cosmetology, I think is one of the programs that starts sophomore year, they definitely need to reach out to myself or Miss Murphy, whoever their counselor is, to get specific information, because you would have to apply to that program during the spring of your freshman year so that you could get accepted into the program and make arrangements that way. And then option two, that's a big one. That's a big one. So with our athletic director and our physical education supervisor, I believe that they sent things out. I know for a lot of the freshman families, they might not have known about for quarter one, the deadline was September 4th, so it was pretty early. But moving forward, hopefully that's something, if they know that they are going to play a sport, they're going to want to find out, is there a way to opt out of their phys ed for a particular quarter? They are allowed to do that for up to 2 quarters. Freshmen just cannot do it during quarter 4 because that's when all freshmen will take health. And then just a sneak peek for next year, all sophomores cannot opt out during first quarter because that's when they take driver's ed. All right. So those are just some of the things we want to remind you about. All right, for the additional slides are how we can help connect our families and our community. We thank Cougar Cares. Oh my gosh, we are so grateful to have the donations from this program. The kids enjoy the carrots and the apples and the bananas. It's a really nice resource that this organization provides for our students. So we appreciate all that they do. It looks like on this one, yeah, they have a link to visit. If you are interested in supporting Cougar Cares, there's a link right there for you to do that. There's also, please, anytime we start a school year, you got to fill out that free and reduced application. If you think that your family's eligible for that, we encourage you to do that. That's so important, especially as they start to think about testing and fee waivers and college applications. Like, filling that packet out every year is going to be a really helpful tool for all families that are eligible for those types of resources. Okay, next slide. Okay. So please join the Columbia HSA. That's just another way for you as parents to stay connected to all the activities. They, along with Mr. Sanchez and all his great emails, they really let you know about like all of the fun stuff that goes on, and then and all of those other important days like Picture Day, and whether or not we're having homecoming activities, just a bunch. It's just a great way to stay connected, and that's what's going to help your child have a great experience if we're all connected. Next slide. And then, of course, all that really matters are our social connections, taking good care of ourselves, getting a good night's sleep, eating well, and having good mental health. And, we hope that our department helps in all of those ways. All right. I think that's it for us. Okay, I see questions are being answered. Thanks so much for attending tonight. Okay, Mr. Vecchione.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. So again, thank you guys for being here tonight. We tried to get out or get you out in a reasonable amount of time, so we didn't keep you here all night. I see that Mr. Sanchez and Ms. Morrison have been responding to the Q&A that you all have access to. I do want to mention that tonight is and was and is being recorded. It will be posted on our CHS counseling website. So if you ever want to go back, hear something again, whatever it may be, you can access it at any point once it gets posted, as well as a copy of these slides as well. So you can take links and sign up for the HSA on our second to last slide. But again, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know you guys could be doing a lot of other things with your Wednesday nights, but you chose to be here, so we appreciate that. You can always reach out to either of our two counselors here, Ms. Fleming or Ms. Murphy, or myself, and we will be happy to assist you however we can. Otherwise, have a great night, everyone.